Good afternoon. I just want to thank the organizers for inviting me to speak on this very important topic. And I'm going to try to keep my comments short and sweet on this hot Washington summer day because we have so many other distinguished speakers that are waiting to voice their opinions and provide their recommendations on this as well. I'm just going to briefly discuss first why the persecution of Falun Gong practitioners matters to non-Falun Gong practitioners, and second, what needs to be done by our elected officials to end this horrible persecution. Last month, I attended the International Religious Freedom Summit here in Washington, and I think the most important takeaway for me was religious freedom is for everyone, everywhere, at all times. At this time, I met with some of the organizers for this event, and I heard the horrific stories about the persecution of the practitioners. And I think what's important for non-practitioners to realize, religious freedom is not exclusive to Christianity, Judaism, Islam, and Buddhism. The world has heard about the documented atrocities against the Uyghur Muslims in Xinjiang, and the West took appropriate action. Washington, London, and Brussels have begun to decouple supply chains from this region, and they're holding CCP officials accountable. It is now time that Washington, London, and Brussels investigates reports of genocide against Falun Gong practitioners and take similar action. It is already abundantly apparent that Falun Gong practitioners are targets of mass internment, disappearance, torture, and organ harvesting. There are credible reports to move forward with stronger actions to hold the CCP and officials responsible. The Hudson Institute reported this past January that religious minorities, including Falun Gong practitioners, are subject to medical examinations upon arrest. Results are then imported into a living organ source database. This proves intent for genocide. In June 2021, UN human rights experts expressed alarm that religious minorities, including Falun Gong practitioners, were used as living donors with their hearts, kidneys, livers, and corneas harvested. A May 2022 report in the Wall Street Journal found that doctors in China removed organs from living patients that were not yet declared brain dead. There were reported incidents at 56 PRC hospitals. And despite Freedom House's finding that hundreds of thousands of Falun Gong practitioners were sentenced to labor camps and prison terms, enough still has not occurred. An independent London tribunal has found that crimes against humanity against the Falun Gong and Uyghurs has been proved beyond reasonable doubt. U.S. House and European Parliament have passed resolutions expressing concern over organ harvesting, but I need to stress once again, more must be done. At times, it seems that the U.S. business community has an unquenchable thirst for inexpensive Chinese labor. And it also seems that while the White House seems to want to roll back tariffs, they do not necessarily also always walk the walk on human rights abuses. They just seem to talk the talk on these abuses, seemingly more concerned with gaining China's cooperation on climate rather than decoupling from the CCP. There are reports that the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, for example, has not been adequately enforced, and cooperation with Customs and Border Patrol, they have not provided enough guidance to U.S. corporations for an adequate decoupling from this region. My recommendations for our policymakers moving forward would, number one, be to limit National Institute of Health and other U.S. health researcher organizations from cooperating with China until there is a thorough investigation into organ harvesting. Second, in PRC regions where organ harvesting is confirmed, the West must initiate export controls, investment restrictions, and other economic measures to ensure that the U.S. government and the American business community do not contribute to this genocide. And finally, it is time for the administration and the administrations in London and the European Union to name officials, name CCP officials, name medical professionals who are complicit in organ harvesting and sanction them under the global Magnitsky human rights regime. Thank you again to the organizers for this opportunity. I appreciate it, and I wish you all the best success in fighting back against the actions of the Communist Chinese Party. Thank you.